So about a week and some change ago, I quit my job, and I was thinking, what better way to encapsulate and immortalize that experience than to make a tier list of all the people I met along the way. I was there for over 2 years, and throughout that time, including myself, we went through 44 employees. And you're going to hear that number and turnaround and immediately clock that this was indeed a food service job. And to the credit of the business, there was a lot of roles to fill. Like there's a kitchen and a front of house for the kitchen and a bakery, and where I ended up working, the coffee bar. I was a barista. Now, you're going to hear this topic, and I think some of you are immediately going to look at me with your judging eyes and think that it's strange to have these many emotions and opinions on your coworkers. From my perspective, if you're like me and you're an adult who's approaching 30, if you don't have a recreational sport, or if you're not in grad school or even play a card game, your coworkers are going to be the primary people your age you're going to spend a majority of your time with. Like, we're talking 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, and even outside of that, I actively chose to spend extra time with these people because a lot of them are my friends. Like, we would get dinners and coffee, and I went camping with one of them. It was a whole deal. It was a whole deal. Basically, for the past 2 years, the people I met at this job were my primary social circle. And now that that job's over, I just have to reflect back on everything and kind of wonder, what did I do for those past years, and what was my impact on these people, and what was their impact on me? I think that's relatable to some people, because my issue is I've been working food service jobs ever since I was a high school student. So we're coming on maybe 10 years of food service job, and I get into the cycle of going back into it and working a job like this for a year or two, and then wanting to break outside of that world but immediately falling back in because that's the only experience I have. And the thing about food service is, anyone who's worked it is, I think it's underrated how much it takes over your mind and your life. I'm just tired all the time whenever I'm working, and I guess my big worry is I'm about to fall right into that same cycle all over again. So hopefully there's something I can take from these wonderful people I encountered. I guess I should explain my tiers real quick, even though I feel like they should be self-explanatory. S are my real ones. These are people I've been hanging out with weekly for the past 2 years, essentially. A are people I have a general good opinion on. They made my work life better, and I'd consider them friends. Can see dinners and coffee in the future, but just not as often as S. B tier are people who made a good impression but aren't around, and I guess the numb version of that is C tier, are people who made no impression. And on the very bottom is F tier, actively negative impression and or bigots. Now, we do have quite a few people to go over, and I'm just gonna warn you, counting myself, there's been 44 employees throughout the 2 years, and you're gonna hear that count and immediately clock that it's a food service job. Granted, the business has kind of enough roles where this makes a bit of sense. Like, we had a kitchen, the front of house for the kitchen, a bakery, and where I ended up working was the coffee bar. I was a barista. You just got to be familiar with the terms because I'm gonna have to verbally categorize people as I go down everyone. I'm also literally counting everyone, hence why the count is so high, which seems a bit extreme, but I'm a completionist at heart. And if any of you, my old coworkers, stumble upon this somehow and feel uncomfortable, I apologize if you're like an S through B tier. I don't mean to make you feel uncomfy. Like I said, I'm going to scrub details and keep everyone anonymous. Just think of this as my thing. Like, this is supposed to be your guys' relation to me more than anything. There's a funny comment I saw in the wild that I think about quite often, probably an embarrassing amount, that said something along the lines of, did the journal factory explode? And it did. This is my journal. To keep everyone anonymous, these little cardboard things, I have the doodles and gave everyone a title, and we're gonna stick them on here. I don't think my camera is gonna really capture the images on the board, so you're gonna have to just listen to me as I put them on screen. Anyways, that's a lot of blah 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 yammering. Let's get into it. Firstly, we have the sweet tooth, and the sweet tooth was actually a very important person for the business because they are our sole baker. They did not want an assistant, and I had I had a interesting and I'll almost call it tumultuous relationship with the sweet tooth because they have very strong millennial energy, and I mean that as a positive and a negative some ways. Like I think I long to be that free and chill about how I'm perceived by others. When I put my 2 weeks in, I was genuinely kind of surprised that they were a little upset to see me go. They weren't like crying. They were kind of like, happy for me, or like, "Whoa, man, what are you going to be up to?" And that surprised me just because they had that millennial rudeness energy. They did have to cover shifts at the coffee bar sometimes, and they were very self-aware on how difficult that was for us. They were very difficult to work with in the sense that they would panic very easily. My thing, again, food service for 10 years is I don't really panic. I just shut down. I become a robot that only knows how to pull shots or bring food to people. And I don't think they had that dog in them just because their talents were making all the sweets for the business. And that's nothing to scoff at. We also got into pretty insane races in the morning about our 2 parking spots that the 4 or so employees on shift would have to fight over. So that was also a reoccurring conflict, I'd call it. But I feel like the ending really saved our sweet tooth. So they get our first B tier. We have the filmmaker. Now, this is very interesting for me. I'm just gonna, because I'm debating S or A, because the thing with the filmmaker is when I met them, I was worked with them for a year. So when I first met them, it was almost this strange dynamic where how old am I? I'm 6 or 5 years older than them. So when I met them, it very much felt like older sibling, younger sibling, and that they were so hyperactive and they looked at the world with such bright eyes. And I think I missed that. Like looking at them, I envied having so much hope in the world. That being said, they really zenned out after their birthday. And I don't know if that's the literal 1 year brain development or their new medication, but from that on, they kind of really mellowed out at the job. Something else on the bright eyes thing I was talking about is they were extremely concerned about the espresso. Them and one other person, I'll grab them in a second, but like they genuinely cared about the quality of our coffee. And they told me once that like if they're gonna work like this menial job, they want to be proud of the work they do. And I think about that because I'm like, man, I wish I had that spunk in me, man. I wish I still had that energy. Fuck it. We're gonna stick our filmmaker in S. I'm calling them the filmmaker because that's like their true dream, by the way. The other young gun, the ingenue. Now, this kid wants to be an actor, and I once called them very Troy Bolton coded because they were a theater kid. And my dark secret is I'm really into musical theater, specifically listening. I cannot sing, I cannot dance, I appreciate the stage. So that was a nice bonding point. They are so young though. They are an '07, and every time I heard that, I could feel my bones creak. And what I was just describing, the dynamic I had with the filmmaker at the beginning, was like 10 times worse because I could not help but feel like I was talking to the ingenue as if they were a literal child. I didn't mean to. It's just difficult. I hear teen at the end of your age, and like my brain shifts to a position of, okay, are you eating your vegetables and doing your homework? I would argue that they were generally a more passionate barista than me. The ingenue actually liked bear coffee. I can drink a cup of black coffee. It's not my preference. But I'm gonna stick them in A. I just don't know them as well as the filmmaker, I feel. But I'm willing to go to any of the ingenue's local shows. Let's move out of the coffee for a second and talk about the ear. The ear was someone who worked in the kitchen basically the whole time I was there. Interesting interaction for my first days when I tried to charge him for a cup of coffee because I didn't know he worked there. Bad first impression, but one of the things that was consistent when I was talking to the ear about the business and other coworkers is that he kind of just disliked people by default, and they have to grow on him in some way. He was more prickly with his words than he was with his attitude. He hosted a work bowling night once, and we were going to do that more often. Didn't end up doing that more than the one time, but it showed me that he did genuinely care about keeping the workplace nice and close. Just can't complain about that. Gets a B tier. I enjoyed our morning talks on Monday. Hey, let's speed run some of the boring ones. We have the machine. The machine worked in the kitchen for 2 whole days. He gets a C tier. The only thing I knew about him is that he was hired alongside like 2 other people because we were going through a problem where people were quitting too fast. So I think my boss just gave up and started hiring people in groups and seeing who lasted. And of those 3, none of them lasted. But the machine was the only one who was good. He was good at his job for 2 whole days and then got bored and no called, no showed. Alongside him came the gnome. I have very specific beef with the gnome, and I'm kind of tempted to just throw him an F tier. He worked there for 1 single day, and I just remember him walking up to me pitch black in the morning, like 6 a.m., asking for a cup of coffee when I first got there. And I remember looking at him like the dumbest human alive. And that's probably more rude on my part. I'm not still mad about it, but it just annoyed me, so I can just stick him in C. C's being double layered because I think we're gonna have a lot of C tiers. We have the Shadow. The Shadow was a girl who doesn't feel real because she worked at the coffee bar for 2 days during my weekend, and she quit after those 2 days, and she didn't finish either of those shifts because she had an eating disorder. So she spent most of her time in the restroom throwing up instead of doing anything, and I hope she's okay, even though I never met her. Just on a human level, my coworker gave her her number, and I don't know if she ever followed up or, asked for help or anything from her, but very, very sad situation, and our boss was not sympathetic, so she gets a C tier. Here's the third one in that bunch of kitchen people I was talking about. This is the dinosaur. He was a really old man who came out of retirement just to work here for some reason, and he couldn't do it, and he quit after 1 day. So, C. I can't imagine coming out of retirement. If I ever get to retire, I'm going to hold on to that. Another random kitchen worker, we have the cyclist. The cyclist worked there a very brief time. Actually, no, it was kind of a long time. I just don't think he managed to make that much of an impression on me during that time. I think our only interactions was him walking up to the coffee bar and asking for a smoothie, and sometimes he would ask for 2 because he wanted to bring one to his girlfriend after work. Having said that, I found out he did ask some of the food side girlies out on a date. I don't think that anything ever came of that. Maybe he's polyamorous. I don't know. He ended up getting fired because he got really high on the shift once and could not function. From what I understand, like, he was stuck in the employee restroom, I remember, and they were banging the door and he wouldn't react or come out, and this was during a really busy weekend shift, and by the time he finally crawled out, they just told him to go home. And the only reason this is notable to me is that he did come back about a month later, and he looked completely different. Like, he shaved his head and had glasses on and was wearing a button-up, and he told me he was trying to get his job back. Didn't end up happening. I hope he's okay. You can get C tier. Maybe we'll just burn through the kitchen. We have the battery. This is a kitchen worker I started alongside, and I never really got to talk to him for 2 reasons. 1, there was a bit of a language barrier, and 2, he was kind of on his shifts a little tipsy every single time, and that didn't help with conversation. Remember, I was working with him on the close one night, and the food side lady was looking for him, and we couldn't find him, and he had fainted in the office. Despite everything, I'm on his side for sure, because he was kind of done crazy dirty. About the tipsy thing, he did end up having liver failure and was hospitalized, and he was in the hospital too long, so he ended up getting fired for that. And I guess the only reason I'm not as outraged as possible, quote unquote, as I possibly could be from that injustice, is that he did tell me he was planning on quitting soon by that point anyways. So you know what? Thanks for your hard work. Despite the alcoholism, you get a B tier. The Firebringer is a food side worker that doesn't feel real. He went to one party with us, like the work crew, and he made a bonfire so big that it like almost clipped the telephone wires above. During that bonfire, he got into a pretty uncomfortable, heated argument with the only black woman in our staff at the time about opinions on the local police force, which is just sort of lame. Speaking of just sort of lame, we have the driver, another youngin, another teenager in the staff. His claim to fame was homophobia. Found out one of my coworkers, who is a woman, had a girlfriend at the time, and he just had a bunch of weird questions and comments about it. I guess you can have empathy because he was like an 18-year-old kid, but I feel like the Gen Alphas and the Gen Zs in particular should know better. So I have a group one here that's pretty interesting. We have the Clam, and the Clam started a month after I did, so we kind of have a very similar origin spot in the job. That being said, he was miserable the whole time. The way I was feeling in my last couple months was kind of the way he was feeling immediately, which makes sense because he transitioned straight from a Starbucks to this coffee job. So I think he was just over coffee. So when I was working with him, even though I would generally say we got along, there was definitely this dynamic where I was trying to keep like the energy up and keep the conversation going when he would rather be literally anywhere else. And I'm like 99% certain he only worked there because the Pearl, his dear girlfriend, was working at Foodside at the time, and they shared a car. Now the thing about the Pearl is I have very mixed emotions about her, because she was super kind to like me and the other people on the coffee side for the most part, but she really did not like her other coworkers on the food side and would talk disparagingly about them behind their backs. I think the best way to put it, she was a super go-getter type A energy, and she would kind of remind us at the coffee bar to clean our stations more than the manager did at times, and she would go like the extra mile to like take care of the food side, and no one else on the food side wanted to like match her to that degree, at least at that point in everyone's jobs. And I think that made her really annoyed. And I guess some of you hear that and you have mixed thoughts on that. I guess my take on it is you never do more than your job requires. But I don't think she was doing more in the sense that she was doing extra work, in the sense that she was just very intense and particular about her work, which I'm glad I don't have to work beside her, because it seemed like that was a big issue for them on that side. No, her big thing was that she got super jealous of a certain woman on the coffee bar we will get to later, and thought that she was trying to steal her boyfriend. These two ended up quitting the same day. Something happened with the tips, and they just both walked out pretty suddenly and dramatically. And at the time, I was really annoyed because the Clam left on strangely mean terms. He said that there was nothing enjoyable he found about this job, and I'm like, hey man, that's pretty mean. We went to the dog bar together. Did that mean nothing? But he did apologize to me personally later, which makes me think there was I don't know, there's something positive to look back there. I'm probably never going to talk to these two again, or at least I'm not going to be able to find them, but they can be in B tier. There is one more tangentially related employee to them. We have the Sandman. The Sandman was really funny. Another teeny bopper, and one from my own heart, because she had attended the art college I graduated from. I know, embarrassing, art school. So we had that relation point. But my funniest thing with her is that the job was so slow and boring in the morning sometimes that she would fall asleep on the stairwell, so the kitchen worker would have to ring the bell to wake her up and actually greet the customers when they came in bed. As I was saying, the Pearl would complain about the other grill workers. Specifically, she complained a lot to the Sandman, and I think it's because the Sandman was so young compared to everyone else on the staff that she kind of forced her into her protege role, I guess is the best way to word it. And I don't think the Sandman wanted that, because she ended up quitting. But you know what? She was cool. Sleeping on the stairs at your job is funny sometimes. Gonna burn through like 3 kitchen workers at once. Why did I do everyone? We have the wind. Fuck. He just kind of worked there. He was always kind of bad at his job, but he was really friendly. I felt really bad because there was this insanely awkward moment when the sweet tooth, our baker earlier, didn't know his name, even though he'd been there for a couple months by that point. He kind of got fired for just being bad at his job. He can live there. With the gopher. The gopher I have very specific beef with. So during my 2 Secret Santas, and I guess I should have brought this up earlier, didn't go exactly as planned, but we had Secret Santa every Christmas at this job. And for my first one, I got the gopher. So I spent real money on getting him like a nice little flask, and he never came to get it because he had gotten arrested. Which isn't his fault, I think. I don't know what he got arrested for, but he did get let out soon after, but he didn't end up coming back to the job. So there's that. Mr. Gopher, you can sit there. We have the suitor, and the suitor's deal was that he had a crush on a lot of the front of house women and people at the coffee bar. So during the weekend, he would purposely make pancakes wrong on purpose, so he can bring it over to a lady so she could eat it, and she would just end up sharing with everyone else in the coffee bar. And I really did appreciate that, because especially during the Saturdays, there was no time to sit down and eat. A lot of times, just kind of dingy blueberry pancakes would end up being my sole meal for the Saturday, the thing that would push me through the grueling shift. That being said, he did not care about me at all, because when he ended up getting fired, he visited a couple times and never said a word to me again. Thinking back, I don't think he ever learned my name, because there's no way I can't even recall him verbally saying my name. Whatever. Thanks for the pancakes. Oh my god, Secret Santa. Sorry, I forgot. I don't blame him for this, because I don't think anyone could really remind him, because he didn't get to attend the Christmas party. The ingenue apparently was my Secret Santa this year, or end of last year, and he got me a present that I never saw. So I don't know where that went. Okay, I got the gopher for my first one, and if you're wondering who got me, it was the memory. And he got me a bunch of what was it? It was like a stress ball shaped like a game controller and some other random object, and I'm almost certain it was just stuff he had around his house, which is fine. It's a little funny. The thing about the memory is, when he first started, he was the de facto leader of the kitchen, and that fell apart really quickly due to alcoholism. Like, when I started with him, it was kind of nice, because we would talk about what we want to do for careers, or like dream houses, dream states, that kind of thing. Like, we were big on fantasizing about the potentiality of the future. However, he was always an alcoholic. Like, the whole time I knew him, he was always like taking a few sips during the job, but it got especially bad during his last couple months. He became almost illegible. Like, he would just kind of gargle noises and trudge forward and burn all the food in the kitchen and trudge up to the bar and steal shots. It was really bad. I did run into him couple months ago. You know, this is like a year or so removed from his firing, and he said he was going to AA meetings now. And genuinely, I hope the best for him, because, you know, we can keep dreaming, Mr. Memory. Do I want to put you in B tier just because of the good start? I don't want to blame people for their addictions. Well, I thought about it for another second, and here's the thing. I'm gonna move him down for C for now. The hope, there's still hopium that he'll get better. I was really uncomfortable with the revelation that he drove drunk with his child in the car sometimes. You have empathy for people with addictions until it starts affecting toddlers. We have another kitchen worker. We have the jockey here. He kind of showed me that men can have pretty privilege too. A lot of the food side people just thought he was like the hottest man alive. He's a handsome guy. He was tall, tan skin, lots of tattoos. But the most relevant thing about that is our owner was like really liked him. It was a running bit where I knew the jockey before he got hired, because he had gotten hired and walked out and disappeared 4 or 5 times before he finally worked there. And by the time he finally got there, He turned out to not be a trained cook at all. Like, he did not know what he was doing, and he was consistently stressed. I call him the jockey because his friends call him Pony Boy, and I just didn't like that. He wasn't mean on the surface, but it always felt like he was scheming something. The only time I think he got into a real conflict on the job is when he got into a verbal argument with, I'll grab him now, with another kitchen worker, and they were gonna go in the parking lot and fist fight about eggs, which is a little funny. So he gets a C tier, at least for that. Now, the person he argued with was the Buccaneer, and the Buccaneer really liked One Piece, and that is the main positive thing, because the Buccaneer was a white man who liberally used the N-word. I say liberally, he kind of tactfully used it, because he didn't use it in front of me, one of the few POC in that job. I think he specifically did it around the white, non-female food side people, even though they did end up telling everyone that that man uses the N-word anyways. He walked out on us, by the way. Didn't get fired for racial discrimination. We have the mole rat, and this feels kind of mean, but I think this really represents my mixed feelings on the mole rat, because the mole rat, she kind of flipped the perspective I was talking about when with the filmmaker and the ingenue. She kind of gave me big, like, older sister energy. When someone stole my tips once, she threatened to, like, hunt him down and told the local security about him. She had that dog in her to fight for people she cared about. That being said, she was extremely stressful to work with. So early on, she was just kind of bad at the closing thing. So me, the kitchen, and like the coffee people, me would have to hop over and help her at times, which is fine. It's just that she would kind of be stressed out and screaming during the whole thing, which is just unproductive for everyone. She did get better though, and when she got better, a new issue arose where I think she just became disinterested in the job, because she would disappear into these tunnels we have in the back, and we would have to go fetch her sometimes. One of my favorite work crash outs from her is when she accidentally dropped and flushed her watermelon vape down the employee toilet. Just a lot of frantic energy with no real possible resolution. But honestly, she gets a B tier. I appreciate her fighting for us, even if she did stress me out. We're moving into the modern age. We have the translator, which is my little title for our manager. And our manager, I have an interesting opinion on our manager. They're in a very tough role because they were promoted from one of the common people into that position, and they were basically the best connecting point to talk to the boss. Like, if you wanted to talk to the owner in any ways, you just had to talk through the manager, and that made things infinitely easier because our owner was unnecessarily intimidating. I think there was always like a professional boundary that I had with the translator. I couldn't talk to them the way I could talk to my other coworkers, which makes sense because they're the manager. But the only reason I think that's weird is that was like a thing for only some of us. Like some of the other coworkers were definitely closer to being their friends than I was, which is fine. Like, we worked fundamentally different stations, and like I didn't work too hard to break those boundaries. After I put my 2 weeks in, and this is going to be, I guess, for the next batch of people, the energy truly shifted, I think, with my dynamic with the translator, because they became a lot more honest with me about like their opinions on the job and honestly life itself. I really appreciated that, and I think they did that because they knew I was leaving anyway. So it was like, you know, what am I going to do? Burn the ship down on my way out? So thank you, translator, for making the job easier and opening up near the end. Speaking of opening up, we have the medic, and the medic is a fairly new employee who is moving up very quickly in the ranks from what I heard and left off on. Peace and love. I found him extremely a lot when I first met him. Kind of like I said with the sweet tooth, and there was just a lot of millennial energy and humor and conversation. Like, he really liked just standing in front of the coffee bar during the morning shifts or the afternoons and just talking with whoever the barista was for a couple hours. I think I grew to appreciate it the more I hated the job. I think it was nice to just have another human around, and it was kind of like I was saying with the translator. When he found out that I was quitting, it's almost like that facade of positivity kind of shattered a bit. Like he was more open to being honest about what he really thought. I've come to learn that like I don't thrive off negativity inherently, but I do truly despise what I perceive to be fake, like corporate positivity. I gave points for like some people on here who I perceived as having like true positivity, and I don't think the medic is like secretly hating the world, but it was nice to hear that he didn't love everything going on at all times. He can get an A tier. Next, we have the second, who in many ways is essentially just the shadow version of the medic. When he got hired, I thought they were the same person in a lot of ways, like same talkative nature, same hyper energy. He even came up to me and sat there and talked to me at the coffee bar for like an hour or two on my first day meeting him. Where the points diverge, though, is when we had like a more open conversation. We were talking about it was a boomer ass argument because he was talking about how kids these days don't want to work or whatever, and I was just kind of putting my hat in the ring and being like, well, a lot of people don't like working. There's like an illusion to what hard work can get you, and I think the longer you've been in the workforce, you more so realize that. And he did not like my little joke, by the way. This isn't reality, but my little funny joke slash hopium of wanting to raise nepo baby kids. Like that is my true life goal, by the way, to acquire enough wealth where my kids don't actually have to work. And he did not like that. He said fair enough and wandered off. He ended up no call, no showing. And part of me is like, was that my fault? Surely not. I'm gonna stick him in C tier. Part of that C tier ranking is that I'm a little worried something actually happened to him, because some old friends of his came back like 2 weeks after he no called no show looking for him, and they also didn't know where he was. So hope you're doing all right, second. Next up I have the Star. The Star takes after my heart in one way. Their big dream is to move to New York, hopefully soon. And fun fact about me is when I graduated from art school, me and 3 other friends were gonna move to New York for a while. Didn't end up happening, obviously, and I'm kind of over it now. I'm looking for contentment in other things, and the things that fell apart with the other people is someone lost a job, someone got a different job, someone got into a relationship for multiple years, and by that point, like, we're not gonna live together. I just kind of like to live vicariously through the Stars' journey to New York, I'll put it, because I do believe in them. I think they're gonna make it. They wanted to train as a bartender for that New York dream, and I appreciated, this is what I mean when I was talking about real positivity, because they genuinely like making drinks for people. Like, they like sitting at that bar and talking to customers who come in, and I think it's the same energy I got from like the filmmaker and the ingenue's genuine takes on our espresso shots. A nice bit of positivity to see every once in a while on the shift. They were also extremely kind to me whenever I was having some of my closing crash outs. We have the Hornet. She was like a mom who worked there for 2 weeks and a week, I think. Like right after her training, she ended up quitting, no call, no showing. And I think it's because she worked an actual restaurant job before this, so she was used to a busier pace than we could provide her. I look back on the way I spoke to her, not mean. I think I was just overly positive, because I feel like my perspective has flipped on what she was feeling, because I think she was feeling what I was feeling during my last couple of months, where I just wanted to get out of there, and like everyone else didn't get it until the weeks were put in. I was like, oh, this job isn't too bad, when she was clearly annoyed the whole time. So sorry about that, Hornet. You have the Mug. He also completed his 2 weeks of training, and then he missed out on his first non-training day. Like, he just no call, no show, and I stole the mug he left behind as penance for training him. He gets a C tier because I'm pretty sure he's not a bad person. I was just annoyed in the moment. I have the Noise, which sounds like shade, but I promise you this relates to something about them that isn't a negative. The Noise just never really got into the work culture. Like, I don't think they ever really did any hangouts of anyone outside of work, and there's always weird tension with the other food side people, I'd say. Also, our owner irrationally despised the Noise, so I feel really bad for them. Like, our owner called the Noise one of the worst employees they've ever had. That's just not true. I have the realtor. This is another fake employee. This is like a full-grown woman with a real job and a husband, and she covered 2 shifts because she's like super emergency replacement. And I met her those 2 shifts, and she looked miserable the whole time. So she can get a C tier. She did try to open up to me, I think, during that, try to make the shift go by quickly, but she left early both times, and I don't really blame her because I think, again, she was just there for the convenient bonus money every once in a while. We have the ceramicist. This was a person who worked at the coffee bar for kind of a short, awkward amount of time. They completed their 2 weeks of training, and then they put their 2 weeks in to quit immediately. I learned of 2 kind of strange interactions from them within that month. One was they really didn't want to close one shift, so they said they had a concert to go to that night, and they had one of my other coworkers switch with them. And when they came back, like a different day, my coworker, of course, was like, "So how was the concert?" And the ceramicist was like, "What are you talking about?" And I just kind of rules on that. Like, if you're gonna fuck over the business all you want, don't ever like mess with the people you work with. We didn't do anything to you. That's part of why I was there for 2 years and a couple months. You become loyal to your coworkers instead of the idea of the business or the job itself. And that's just like an insane first impression. Actually, that was an insane last impression because this was after they put their 2 weeks in. Because I remember after they were like, "What are you talking about?" to my coworker when they asked about the concert. They gave a negative reaction, of course, and later that night the ceramicist texted them something like, "We need to be open about our feelings if we're going to be working about each other, or else you're going to create like a toxic work environment." What are you talking about? You leave in like 8 days. There is no work environment with you in the future. The other weird factoid is they did not like my friend from art school, so they worked together at the ceramics guild for a bit, and they didn't get along. And I have opinions on that argument, but that's irrelevant to this job. They can also just sit and see. This is the problem with including everyone. You have so many C tiers. Let's get an S tier on there. This is the unicorn, and she can float all the way up here. This one's pretty hard to talk about because this is truly my post-work number one. Like, there's a lot of little things we can talk about with the unicorn. I've seen her through her highs and lows. She's seen me through my highs and lows. I think one of the best things with working with her that we immediately clicked on, she got hired about a month after I got hired, kind of close to where I was with the clam. But one of the most interesting things is that we could just bounce off each other's hyper-specific hyperfixations. Like, if I wanted to go in there and talk about Survivor, she would talk to me about Survivor. She wanted to talk about The Last Unicorn, we would talk about The Last Unicorn. I remember one of the first deep dive topics we went into during a shift was getting into Pixie Hollow and the different type of pixies you can be categorized as. Truly, I'm just glad to have her in my life still. We still do Survivor Wednesdays because it's kind of like she represents that, okay, I made a lifelong friend, I hope, within these 2 years. So this wasn't literally all for nothing. Without delving too much into the shit of being there and some of the people there, I'm just glad to have her around, and I appreciate the unicorn. I appreciate you, unicorn. Kind of on the opposite end of that is we have the wizard. Fun fact, the wizard was the woman that the Pearl was jealous of that I was speaking of earlier. Now, the wizard is kind of difficult for me to talk about. Some part of me still doesn't want her to be upset with me. For the longest time, she was like my closest confidant. It was me, her, and the unicorn. For like a solid almost year, just those 3 baristas. Well, 3.5. We'll get to the half in a second. I feel like I shared so much about myself with her, and it kind of feels like that was the wrong move now. She just holds my secrets forever, and she is in a state where she doesn't want to speak with me. Crazy, because I feel like we had such good work dynamic. Some of my favorite weekend shifts were when it was just me and her for like an hour in the morning, just because like we can really talk the shit and delve deeply into these core feelings. I am from a super Asian household. I do not talk about my feelings with my parents and my sister, and that's something like I think she clocked kind of immediately. And the best part about talking to her is that she's just generally really easy to talk. She could tell when I'm holding back on things or like holding on to something. So a lot happened between the wizard and the unicorn, and the unicorn is still my dear friend. So that's none of me to share on a stupid tier list video. But that kind of destroyed that dynamic, and it destroyed my peace in the workplace. And the main reason the wizard doesn't want to be my friend right now isn't even anything to do with this. She's just uncomfortable that I'm still friends with her ex-girlfriend, which is deranged because, one, she told me to be friends with her ex-girlfriend after they stopped dating. Like, she told me she didn't want me to like cut her out or make her feel like I was only hanging around her just because of the wizard. And I'm sure some people have takes about people befriending your friend's exes, but her ex was my friend too. She's not on this tier list. She didn't work here, by the way. When everything was happening, I kind of was immediately on the unicorn side. And I think part of that made the wizard unhappy with me. And again, it sounds crazy to be this upset about someone who doesn't feel comfortable being my friend right now at my grown age. But seeing as I thought I had like another lifelong friend with her within those 2 years, and have it be taken away so quickly from actions that I feel like I didn't even do or had no part in, it shocked me with this fear that I was going to be in my 30s and I was going to have to like find new friends all over again. If you're younger than me, it doesn't get easier. Finding friends the older you get never gets easier. I do appreciate the wizard for the memory and all, so I'll still stick her in B tier, even though I know the unicorn doesn't want me to. Let's do some quick fun ones. We have the Oracle. The Oracle was really cool. She was like a tarot card reader, and I always wanted a tarot deck, and she kind of encouraged me to get one, but I'm kind of into the superstition. You're not supposed to buy your first one for yourself, and no one has bought me one still. I appreciated having someone with that energy around. Boop. Easy A tier. We have the half I was talking about earlier. This is the painting, and the painting was super part-time at Coffee when I started. I think she was working a single shift a week on the regular, but available to cover shifts, and I appreciated her willingness to work. Like, I think she was the only one of us that was like okay with doing doubles across, she had a different job at the time, across multiple jobs. For a while it felt like a lot of the people in the coffee bar summoned her to cover a crazy amount of shifts. Like, it was becoming more often the more people needed to go on trip, and I think I just built in a weird barrier where I felt bad asking her to do things for me, even though I don't think she ever seemed to mind. Friendly person, she gets an A tier. Next we have the caretaker. This is our bean guy, and his only job was to roast beans for the business. He would come in twice a week and spend a couple hours just roasting beans for a coffee side. I feel like I had a lot of little conversations about like Blender and tiny houses with him at the beginning of my tenure, but they kind of faded out as the disillusionment reached both of us. I don't blame him. He became a father during the 2 years. Part of it is that he just wanted to get out of there to go check on his kid, and who can blame him? He used to be in a metal band. That was pretty sick. We have the Scholar. I like to call him that because he was like a human encyclopedia. During particularly slow coffee days, I would abandon the coffee bar and run in the kitchen and just talk to him for an hour or so about video games or Japanese art. He's also about to become a father, so we just gave a dad an A, so we can get another A in there. We have the Pugilist, and the Pugilist is also someone I have conflicting feelings on. When I first started, we weren't actually supposed to get free food on the job, which is kind of bullshit. But the Pugilist always let me get my food for free. His big iconic moment was during my last shift with him, I think it was. A homeless man came in, and while the pugilist was escorting him outside, the homeless guy decked him in the face, and he had to like chase him outside through a whole crowd of people. Like, this was happening in the midst of a line to the door. He kind of quit shortly after that, and I don't really blame him. And the main reason I'm conflicted on the pugilist is because I'm kind of like, you are the company you keep, you know? Effer. See, I'm just gonna stick him in C now. Controversial, but because even though he was really kind to me, his little friend here, the ghoul, who he sent as his replacement. It's begun thunderstorming, but I've been recording for like 90 minutes, so we're gonna have to roll with the punches. The thing about the Ghoul is that he had a particular reoccurring problem, and that problem was he liked to repeatedly cheat on his girlfriends. He did fuck 2 of my coworkers while he had a girlfriend at this job. I'm not gonna expose who, that's not my business. Put your guesses in the comments below. I don't think I can, in good conscience, put him anything above F tier for that. He was like really charismatic, you know, like he's classic fuckboy energy, classic like good conversation. But the second he kind of gets called out for his behavior, he turned in a very strange way. In particular, the wizard didn't fuck him, by the way, but he became an enemy of the wizard because of his antics. He would send his boys to come to the coffee bar to spy on the wizard, or not even confront her, just kind of like look at her. It was very odd. That was the weird point with the pugilist, who's like his buddy. The pugilist was straight up story stalking on Instagrams some of my coworkers during this. Just very bad, very cringe dynamics going on. Speaking of bad dudes, we're gonna talk about the Weasel as briefly as possible. This is a guy that makes me actively mad. Not this Weasel. They just have very similar shapes. The thing about the Weasel is he didn't technically work there, but he could cover multiple stations and got paid under the table when he got summoned. I do feel like I was kind of tricked in the past 2 years into thinking this man was a decent enough human despite some very clear character flaws. I think it's just the same energy I have for the Ghoul right now, in the sense that I'm just tired of hearing horror stories from my friends on how badly some of their partners treat them. And oh boy, is the Weasel a contributor to that. Sit right there. Fun fact about him, one of his exes was just my barista at a different coffee shop, just purely coincidentally. And one time she encountered him at a dog park with his golden retriever, and he walked up to him and warned the girl he was with about his behavior. Ladies, gents, and anyone else who wants to date men in this world, take those warnings to heart. We're almost done, and I'm running out of breath here, so we're gonna burn through these as fast as possible. We have the Jester, and the Jester is a very new person in the kitchen. I'm just gonna stick him right here. He's a generally friendly guy, hung out with him a couple times outside of the job. His biggest issue is that he does not like the job in the same way as the Clam, where I think he just kind of looks miserable the whole time. And unfortunately, unlike the Clam's coffee support system, the other people within the kitchen do not like him or like working with him. He did give me my biggest cheer when I put my 2 weeks in, so I was glad to see some immediate support from someone instead of a lot of, oh no, what happened, that I got from other people. Okay, I was kind of saving this one towards the end on purpose because I'm trying not to be too precious with this one, but this is the rabbit. When I first met the rabbit, I feel like there was this awkward interaction barrier because we're both just really difficult to get to know. Like, it's hard for both of us to open up to other people. We kind of both have our guards up, so I think it was kind of awkward for a while. I want to say like a couple months, even after a few post-work hangouts, but something about her just clicked with me. We went through a period where I was really wanting to hang out with her pretty often. Like, I wanted this to be my work bestie for a while. When you grow this intense admiration and connection to another person, it isn't necessarily reciprocated, which is fine. The rabbit has never done me wrong. Despite the clear ups and downs of the job here, she's always given me her best and wished me her best, and the issues, quote unquote, there are definitely more from my end and something I had to try to approach and battle with. It's corny. She just made my work experience easier, and I kind of miss seeing her pretty regularly, so we're just gonna throw on the tier list and move on. We have the fairy. The fairy worked just the weekends when I started. She got accused of stealing like 70 to 80 bucks from the register. I don't know if she did it. If she did, that'd be kind of iconic. She ended up quitting after the tip dispute, but she was moving states anyways, so I don't think she cared that much. She gets a B tier. I appreciate the fairy. And last but medium, we have the performer. The performer worked very briefly with me. He was kind of just a bad coworker. I have a distinct memory of him getting in the trash while we were there with it was me, him, and the Clam, and he was kind of like, hey, I'm gonna take the trash out and come back and see if you guys need my help, but if not, I'm just gonna clock out. And I'm like, okay. And the line was like to the door, and he never came back. So I think he just took the trash out and left. And that's like the last time I saw him, even though I don't think he had quit yet, because he put his 2 weeks in and then didn't end up finishing his 2 weeks. Even outside of that, he used to work regularly with the painting, and she did tell me once that he stole tips from the other baristas. And I said this earlier, do whatever you want to the business. Don't fuck with the people you work with. They didn't do anything wrong to you. It feels wrong to stick him in F with villains, so he can just get C, because I'm like not burnt up about it. Whatever. Here's my completed tier list. If you're wondering why I bothered making all these items, this is actually going to be an activity for me and my friends in person, as well as me trying to turn this into diary content. I don't know if you made it this far. I don't know if this was particularly interesting. I personally just like hearing other people's work tea. My throat is really dry right now, and I think I just need water or soup or something. So I'm gonna leave you on some words of wisdom. If you can't find meaning in the job itself, look towards the people who surround you and try to take something from that. I guess. That sounds like a moral.